The Sounds of Eclar deep dives into the business worlds of our members and partners.
What is the growth direction of your business? Where's the areas you want to focus on?
We learn about the challenges you've never heard of.
Sometimes work is going to need more of your time. And if you want to be successful, you have to be willing to do that.
The skills and habits that are the backbone of their businesses.
Life comes in seasons, just like the year comes in seasons. Some seasons will be really tough.
And the feedback and advice that set them up for success.
Being able to separate yourself from feedback and know that it's not personal and take it constructively, then you can only ever better the product that you've built.
This is The Sounds of Eclar. Welcome to The Sounds of Eclar. It's Maxi here, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Loz. Hello, Loz.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Look, today I'm very excited because we're joined by the founder of Shift HR, a strategic HR advisory and consulting business. But beyond just his work, he's also hilarious, strikingly handsome, energetic, and a breath of fresh air every time he enters a room. Contractually, I had to say all those things. Welcome, Nick Gearen.
I have to come here more often. If that's what
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about Shift HR.
What do you want to know? We do everything. It's good fun. We focus on a lot of strategic HR work, trying to work with businesses on commercializing their HR function, trying to work with HR functions on commercializing their capabilities. It's super varied. We do a lot of stuff. It's really good.
Nick, you've spoken to us a few times about the challenges of having your own business. How have you worked across the working on the business and in the business day to day? How do you face those challenges?
I think it's an everyday balance. Like you're just constantly thinking about what is the growth direction of your business? Where's the areas you want to focus on? For my business, the work is so varied. We could be working on a REM strategy one day. We could be working on an employee relations issue the next. And the volume of work changes depending on the kind of work that we're working on a client with. I think the thing I've learned the most is that you're constantly looking at what the right balance is. Like, is it today I should be focusing all on what's coming next or how I deliver what's coming next? Or is it that I need to deliver the work? or is the experience of the client the most important thing today for whatever the delivery elements are? But for me, I think I'm just always thinking about what is the balance right today? What should it be tomorrow? What do I want it to be in 2 weeks? And how do we get it there? I mean, you guys would know, right?
So the company you work with, are you more focused on actually trying to help them protect themselves by having good policies and systems? Or is it more about how do I take work away from key stakeholders so that they can focus more on the business? What's sort of the balance of that?
It could be. I mean, ultimately where we kind of fit in is HR is such a broad space. It grows every day and it's a pretty reactive space a lot of the time, but there's also a lot of like proactive things that HR can do in an organization that will prevent the need for any reaction or reactive action across the board. I think most people know HR to be the kind of people that come in when something is wrong. A lot of the time people who are in HR want to be the people that are working on reducing the need for that kind of instance. So it's a super balanced environment in that sense too. What we're working on a lot of the time is either there is a problem or something that we need to be reactive to, or there is a complex problem that we're trying to avoid, or a goal that we're trying to achieve, and it requires the use of the humans within the organization to get there. So that could be trying to achieve a complex accreditation that spans across an entire organization and needs a lot of different capabilities. And so we need to make sure that we have the right capabilities in an organization and that we find the right people, or that we're training the people internally, that people feel engaged about that, that we're planned for it and we can articulate the value of it. Or it could be those reactive things where we're thinking about we have an issue. Maybe it's engagement, maybe it's retention, and we're trying to work out why and do the same thing in reverse. So, I mean, that's the nature of HR. Anybody in HR that's listening will be nodding furiously, going, yes, that's right. But it's a balance just the same way as it is having your own business. I mean, I feel lucky that as I grow, I'm used to the HR stuff, but it's good fun to be able to kind of go into other people's businesses and do the same and help them with it.
So speaking to your own growth though, your own skills, the habits you've created over time,
Yeah.
what are some of those that you think when you reflect now on your own leadership skills and your own, I guess, history, how have you sort of brought that into your day to day?
What areas do you want to talk about? I mean,
There's little things that like every morning we see you
Yeah.
down, having your own time, having your coffee, checking your emails, planning your day.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's something that you wouldn't even think much about anymore. It's just become a habit. But I think that high performers have great habits and they're habitual in their skills and in their consistency. And it's something that you certainly do a lot of.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, right? Like when you're in your own business, I think you move from being in a team environment where you either lead a team or a part of a team or a part of a bigger group of people, and then you're suddenly out on your own. You have to kind of constantly reverse your thinking in that way, where you're wondering how you're going to do it all instead of what ways you need to delegate or what ways you need to be prepared. But then that changes pretty quickly again when your business starts to grow, and you start to work out, okay, well, now I've been through this period of I can't do everything into I need to kind of work out what things I should be doing. I've always been a pretty ritualistic person, but I think like for me and the way that my brain works, I've always done this little coffee in the morning with myself to just go through and check my emails and make sure that I feel like I have an understanding of what's changed, what's changing, whether that be a client's world has changed or something has happened or developed or a legislation has changed or something is in the news that was in the Fair Work Commission. It's just my time to kind of be able to take stock, think about whether that impacts the direction that I'm going.
That's also not normal though.
No.
And I think that a lot of, I mean, you go in.
The change or the coffee?
No, the coffee, the habits. Like you go in and see different leaders and watch them operate. And there's people that are put in leadership positions who are just brilliant at whatever expertise it is. But the habitual stuff and the consistency stuff is something they really struggle with because it hasn't been a part of their day to day. So do you observe that in other leaders when you go into organizations and think you need to get some more consistency in what you're doing every day and how you show up?
Well, all the time. I think, and again, something that HR people listening will be nodding furiously at is that we see often, and I think everybody would see it all the time. A lot of the time people get promoted into leadership or management roles because they're the best at the skill that they have. But it's very difficult to kind of reconcile that, like leadership, so whether it be self-leadership or team leadership or even functional leadership, is a different skill altogether.
Yeah, and always changing.
Always changing. And it's super dynamic. And so if you're in a medical field or something like that, where you've trained and studied for a specific area of knowledge, and then suddenly you lead a team of other medical people, they may all be in the same medical field as you, but people are not medical. Innately, that's a leadership skill. And if no one has ever shown it to you or taught it to you, or you don't have experience, then that's going to be incredibly difficult for you. And I think that's a part of the fun if you enjoy it, but it's ever changing. Like you just are constantly learning about how to get the best out of the people around you. But like you said, like it starts with you. So for me, I've always done those things where I try to take stock, try to look at myself and work out how I'm operating for the day, what I need to do with everybody else. But then there's that next layer of moving past delegating and giving tasks and moving into thinking about how is this person in my team going to get the best result? Am I giving them the best opportunity? Am I developing them in the way that they need to be developed? Do they know what I'm asking them to do? Have I been clear? Am I helpful? Am I removing roadblocks? And that's a whole other job.
How are you finding businesses are coming to you for HR? Because there's so many aspects, and for small businesses, it's really hard to have a HR person within their business. So how are you finding smaller businesses are coming to you to utilise your skill set and offering? Because HR is ever changing as well.
HR is so broad, and I think there's a challenge in the market for HR consultants or HR businesses because it's so broad. It's really hard to like traditionally market yourself because you kind of just like, yeah, we do HR, but that means we can do anything. How do you kind of articulate that? And it's also the same on the reverse, where a lot of businesses don't even know what could be possible for them if they wanted to focus in this way. I think my approach has always been that HR is human resource, and in any growing business, there are humans that are used as a resource. And my kind of approach to messaging that is, if you have something that you need to do proactively or reactively that includes those humans, then we can help. How do people come to me? I think it's really about relationship, and that is also a HR trait. We're only just beginning to move into offering more productized services, some more tools to support other businesses. But in an advisory space, I think any advisory business would struggle to kind of articulate outside of network or relationship. I mean, you guys would know all about that, right? Like, that's part of why this business exists.
Yes. If you're looking for somewhere to hold your next professional offsite, a place with brilliant service, all the amenities you need, and a stunning location, look no further than Eclar. Find out more at eclar.com.
When you talk about the human touch,
Yeah.
what about AI? How's that changing the
Oh,
HR world?
It's changing so fast. It's changing so fast. It's I mean, I'm just personally super interested in AI, and I think it's a topic that HR is trepidatious about because it's so unknown. Having a lot of conversations with tech companies at the moment about the development of AI and what that might mean for the workforce. When you're in HR, we talk a lot about the employee life cycle, and that is simply the entire life cycle of where you are looking for a great person, you find the great person, you onboard them, you help them with their performance, you retain them, and then eventually they exit and leave onto the next thing. AI could have impact on every single one of those processes, and it's at this point now where it could have impact on even the decisions that you make in all of those processes. And we're already seeing some of the successes and some of the risks out of that. You might have seen last year that there was a big case globally where companies were using AI to help shortlist candidates. And they found that after a while, AI was being biased towards different candidates. I can't remember exactly which group, but could have been biased to males, could have been biased to a certain background or a certain ethnicity. And it has the ability to research and find people, and you just wouldn't know if you're not checking those things. So I think the question for HR people is, what's the difference between efficiency and what's going to cause a problem? But we're also seeing this new development of outside of AI use with a person, where we're talking about agents doing a job. And agents kind of require essentially a position description to function from. And I guess the kind of theoretical HR conversation that I'm having a lot at the moment is, where does that agent sit? And is that a HR
Yeah, do
job?
you manage them?
Yeah, like who manages that resource? It's not a human resource, but it does the job of a human, and it needs performance management, but it needs it in a different way. And so there's a lot of questions. Will it sit in operations? Will it sit in HR? Will it sit in IT? And I still think we're working that out. I think businesses are working it out altogether. So it will shift. It will change. For the individual HR practitioner, there's a lot of already developing tools around just the volume of information that's required in HR, the volume of legislation. There's a lot of tools developing around getting that information, staying up to date, being current, feeling like there's a purpose for all the admin, and being able to kind of feel confident about getting it right. A lot of time in reactive environments is spent on documents and documentation and planning for those kinds of things. And so there are tools that are in development now that will help that. And provide a level of safety, particularly in Australia. So I feel like we're right in the thick of it. Like we're right in the thick of what it could be.
From a growth perspective, we always get hard feedback throughout your journey and your different careers. What's a bit of feedback that you've received that's been hard to take on face value, but now you look back and go, it was either right or it hit the spot or it hurt at the time, but I've utilised it in your career development?
I could give you a list. I think it's got to hurt a little bit. Like the journey has to feel like there's something to grow from. A specific piece of feedback is, I mean, at different parts in your career, you're told different things. Early in my career, I was told that I wasn't resilient enough and that I took things too personally. And that was such a hard pill to swallow because I think empathy is what makes you a strong HR leader.
Yeah.
But also too much empathy or misplaced empathy can make it more difficult. And so learning how to kind of remove the emotion and think about the logical and then inject that empathy back over the top of whatever it is that you're doing is really important. Use the empathy for how the right work is delivered and not for the decision that's made, particularly when it comes to business, is a skill that I've had to learn and practice. At a different part in my career, it's over-promising, trying to give a great service all the time, and then you feel like you're doing a disservice to yourself because you're pushing yourself too hard, or you're kind of letting yourself creep into different areas of scope. But like I said, I think the if it's not something that's challenging you, whether it's your own business or your job, and I would say the same thing to anybody in any employment position, I don't think you're going to enjoy it in the long run.
It's interesting you make that point around the different advice you've got along the way, that it needed to be hard. It needed to be hard so that it felt, okay, it came from the right place and it was something that I need to act on, because I speak to a lot of groups at the moment and they're all very frustrated with the 20 to 30, 35-year-olds who don't want that feedback, and if it's an attack on me if I get that feedback. Whereas I guess the more old school ways is you just cop it and you move on.
It's so funny. We talk so much in workplaces about the generation gap. And I think like different industries experience it in different ways, different environments experience it in different ways. And some of it is generational. I mean, you guys would see it too. Some of it is generational, but some of it is recognizing that if you have a young workforce, that this could be their first or second job. And maybe it's not generational. Maybe just no one's told them.
Yeah, they don't know what they don't know.
They don't know what they don't know. I mean, I remember the first time someone told me, like, you can't just say that in an email. Like, you need to try to think about how the other person is going to receive it. And I mean, talking about feedback, like that was one of those moments where I thought like, oh, well, that wasn't generational. That was just because I was young and no one had ever taught me that part of my job was making sure that other people were on the journey and not just like doing a thing. So yeah, like it's hard. You see it all the time. You see business owners, particularly small business owners, who are great at their skill, maybe leading for the first time, leading a business and leading others, kind of saying, why don't they just get it? But I think as well, part of that leadership skill is setting the expectation and working out how far away is this person or these people from the expectation. Have I been clear about that? Can I show them? Have I asked? And have they ever heard this before? Should they know it? Like, what is this unique to me and my business, or is this just a general standard? And then a bit of grace. If you can genuinely answer all those questions and say like, yeah, no, this person knows, then it's a different conversation. But generational is a big one. And that's not to say, I mean, there's a lot of differences in how different generations work, but a lot of the time I think it's just clarity.
Yep.
Which sounds like a cop-out, really. The problem is you.
What about, I guess, how the world changes, like economy-wise? So if you're in Victoria listening to this, the economy, there's some real challenges, and that leads to people's needs are changing because the cost of living is going up. I've spoken to a few different people that have said they've never seen so many people hitting Fair Work because there's people who just want a quick cash grab because they're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
How do you balance that out as a small to medium business owner there's enough on your plate with everything else going on in your own business, you've got your own life, and then employee-wise, you're trying to support them and look after them. What are you seeing in that space?
It's a space that is really intimidating, and it's a space that really, I mean, particularly when it comes to things like Fair Work. But, businesses talk about the economy, and it's the same kind of skill where we're thinking, you might be thinking about the economy in the space of your industry and the economy in the space of the product that you sell. And that's one element. But the economy and its impact on your people on so many different layers is something that some of the most experienced and the most senior HR people in the country think about and do really well. If you work in private health insurance, thinking about the economy and the policy makes a very big difference to the success of the business, but also to the comfort level of the team that are running the business. If you work in retail and there are changes to legislation that feel unclear about the right to disconnect or the right to work from home, and you're not sure about what that means when you need people to run a store, that creates discomfort in you as a business owner, but also everybody that you're working with. And I think that being proactive about that and being proactive about how it impacts you is something that you'll always have to be doing. But the economy impacts the HR industry greatly, and also the greater global kind of function of the country really impacts HR greatly, whether it's about the skills that you need. If you're a tradie, you need certain skills in your trade, and the availability of your team, the people you can find to help run your business will depend on how many people studied your trade and whether they felt like it was accessible, whether there was enough subsidies. And so the list goes on and on and on about how it could impact your people and how it could impact your business. I think the biggest one that we see every year in HR is when it comes to things like CPI and what people are expecting to be paid, and how much pressure people are feeling in the economy financially, whether that be their healthcare or their salary or how much things cost at Coles. They all make an impact on how people show up every single day. And a thing that, we see all the time is business owners, particularly in small businesses, kind of sit back and look at it all and go, well, how am I supposed to help all of that? How am I supposed to be responsible for all of that? And you're not, but all you can do is support people as much as possible and be clear about the expectations that you have, and help people meet those expectations. And I think if work is a place where they feel like they can achieve, it can be hard and they can receive feedback. But if they feel like they can achieve and they're doing something good, then work becomes a space away from the economy for everybody, and your business will be less impacted from a people perspective there. But again, that's really difficult when you're a skilled person and you focus on skill.
Yep.
It takes practice. It takes a lot of practice. And then the other thing is it never changes. The economy is always going to change, and it's always going to make something different for you and different for the person at reception and different for the person, doing a different part of your business. But the sooner you can kind of lift yourself as a business owner or a business leader in a larger organization into a position where you're thinking about how the people around you can do their best, the easier it will become.
A big thanks to the production team at This Is a Studio for producing this episode. They handle everything: the equipment, the technical expertise, and the editing, delivering you a complete, ready-to-upload episode in both audio and video. All you have to do is talk. Whether you're launching a podcast or leveling up your current one, they make it incredibly easy. If you need any support, have a chat to the team here at ECLA or reach out to This Is a Studio.
What's one thing that you would change with your business if you could go back and start again? What's one thing that you've learned along the journey that you'd either take out or you'd do differently?
nothing. My business is perfect.
Of course it is.
Oh, so many things. But same thing, like it's part of the fun.
Yeah.
Like it's part of the fun. I don't think business ownership is for everybody. I think there was a part of me when I first kind of went out that thought like, why doesn't everybody do this? But it's in my makeup to want to do it this way and to want to help in a variety of ways and to want to have a changing day every day. And, you know,
Because you don't have
That
any
means-
staff with you. You're a one-man show.
Yeah,
so you're
until-
taking on every aspect of a
yeah.
business.
And that changes daily. Like some days I'm running every aspect of my business and some days I am bringing in temp. Some days I've got consultants, a suite of consultants working on separate projects. And that has, as a business owner, impact on your P&L and impact on the time and impact on the way that you develop the people that are in those teams, but also how much time I'm spending on finding more business. And eventually it has impact on like what is the long-term structure of my business going forward. We're literally at this point now for me where I'm like, okay, I need to grow in a different way and a more sustainable way so that I can focus on different areas. And my business over the last 2 years has begun to form some pretty clear structures that I'm working through, whether that's advisory or compliance or service is kind of where we're going. But that means that I need to resource that appropriately for growth and not for responsiveness. And that means my entire method changes today versus how it was last week. And so, yeah, that's tough. That's tough for business owners. I am lucky because I've been in HR and workforce planning and thinking about the capabilities that are required to deliver on business strategic goals for my entire career. So that feels natural to me. But I see the difficulty for others, and I work with clients that are kind of saying, we are here and we need to be here. There's a lot of things that have to happen along the way, whether that's new people, which people, what kind of people, what skills and capabilities, or existing people. How do I move them? What do I need to do? What can I change? Are they going to like that? How do I keep them engaged? Who do I grow? Who's on the bus? Who's not on the bus? And then all of the legislation that comes with it, and then all of the fallout because people are people. And so if you are using HR strategically and as a partner, those things are never going to be easy, but you're going to have help and you're going to feel much more proactive. So all in all to say is I feel much luckier than a lot of the people that have not had the experiences that I've had. But then again, a lot of other parts of business are much more difficult for me.
Yeah, correct.
Like I don't know anything about finance.
That's why you got the right people to support you as well.
That's it. It's the same thing.
If something you've said has resonated with one of our listeners out there, which no doubt it has, and they want to join you in that booth for coffee one morning, how do they find you?
Well, they can come straight here. I'll be here. That's fine. But you can come to my website at shifthr.com.au. Feel free to just log in and send me a message. It's me that gets it. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm always around and always up for a coffee.
Best thing is you've all our members have actually come to you. You had a great lunch and learn earlier this year for us, where I know a lot of people had a lot of follow-ups from that. So you've been a really valued part of the eClar community, mate. We appreciate that. We appreciate you joining us today. And I know that no doubt people will be reaching out to you having heard this because there's a lot of different layers to HR and it can get really confusing at times. So thanks again to you. Thanks to Loz. This has been The Sounds of eClar. Thank you for joining us. And a big thanks to our production team at This Is a Studio. These guys are the best in the business. They're always here to support audio, visual. They can do it all for you, plus your marketing. And we appreciate all their support. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.